which were officially released were about a week back, which had 480 cases. And today, Zanzibar has released another list of 25 new cases. So that makes it 505 in mainland Tanzania and Zanzibar. Tanzania itself has said that they would probably be releasing the figures maybe on Monday or Tuesday. What they have said is that, rather than releasing small figures on a daily basis, they would rather do it, when there's a number to report. Having said that, so, in terms of officially declared cases, the position is not as bad as, in other parts of the world. Mainly in Africa, we are seeing the number of reported infections have been far less. Tanzania, to start with, they closed down all schools, colleges, they banned large gatherings, international flights were banned from. Beyond that, it has been, business as usual. They've adopted an approach which people have described in different ways based on their own perspective. But I think we could just say that it's been a mild response. I think each country decides on its own. It's not a one size fit all kind of an approach. So, we have all business places are open on in offices and otherwise, individual employers have taken some kind of measures such as 50% staff comes one week, the rest 50 comes next week, social distancing. And but generally on the road, you see, lesser number of people than we used to see before. I would say about 60 to 70% of them are wearing masks. So in terms of awareness, I think at the public level, there is a lot of awareness. People are trying to, maintain social distancing. People are trying to maintain the correct hygiene practices. But I think the government has publicly said, the president himself has said that he won't stop economic activity. He said that there would be no lockdown. And so we don't anticipate, any kind of shutdown of business here. Businesses would continue to operate. And uh, Tanzania, in terms of opportunities, the neighboring countries like Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda have adopted much more, stricter measures to contain the spread. Tanzania, has adopted a different approach. Time would tell in the coming weeks whether that approach is right or not. In terms of growth, as you probably would all know, that Tanzania has been one of the better performing economies in the region in the last 10 years or so. I think the average growth rate has been between 6 to 7%. Tanzania also is probably better placed than some of its neighbors in the East Africa region, because I think the debt levels and the budgetary deficit is far less as compared to Kenya or Uganda. I think it's average about 3% compared to 6% in some other neighboring countries. So there is an appetite for domestic debt. So I think the government will continue to to drive projects which are based on public spending. There have been some very ambitious projects which have been taken up in the last few years, which include the railway project, the hydroelectric project, the projects relating to roads and bridges, power. So I think those projects would probably might see some slowdown, might see some kind of time and cost overrun. But I think the government remains pretty committed to continue to spend on the projects. That part of the economic activity and the GDP growth in the last few years has been largely driven by public spending on construction and infrastructure projects. So that would continue. And in fact, in the next few years, there's a long list of projects which this country has lined up, which include a new port, extension of the Dar es Salaam port. Then there's an LNG project. So I think Tanzania probably would be one of the, better places in terms of, business continuing, in terms of the GDP not taking a major hit. But this is all based on an assumption that the government would continue with its strategy and, God forbid, will not reach a figure where, the numbers become too large and the government is forced to do a course correction. Tanzania also, I think, has an advantage because its dependence on remittances from nationals working abroad is far less than say Kenya or Uganda. So again, people getting out of job in other countries will not hurt Tanzania as much as it would do Kenya and Uganda. So in terms of, I think, economic impact, our sense is that in this region, probably Tanzania would be the one country which would be able to cope with the economic impact better than some of its neighbors. The government has not announced any bailout package for any specific industry, or so far there's a committee which has been set up by the government. I must say that in that sense, probably they were a little late, off the blocks as compared to some other neighboring countries. The TPSF, which is their main private sector body, has set up its own list, own committee. The Prime Minister's office has set up a committee of experts who are due to come out with a set of recommendations for any economic financial stimulus package or a bailout package for specific industries. Of course, tourism is one sector where you could see the very visible impact, and tourism has been one of the larger revenue streams for this country. You could see most of the hotels have closed down, most of the restaurants, cafes are closed down. Again, not because the government wanted them to close, it's just that the tourists are not coming. And there's a general sense of fear, general sense of caution that people avoid going to restaurants or to cafes to eat out. So that is one sector which has been badly hit, and probably would be one sector which would need a bailout package. And also in terms of, we've been preparing our own list of stranded Indians in terms of those who were on business visas or tourist visas or those who have lost jobs. And we also see that most of the cases of people who have lost jobs are coming from the tourism and the hospitality sector. So that sector, without any doubt, has been hit very badly. Last year, I think the tourism sector contributed about $2.3 billion to the national exchequer. Tanzania, again, about 30% of the contribution to the GDP and 60% of the workforce is with the agriculture sector. So again, that sector continues. That's again a positive for Tanzania because agricultural activities continue, and so we don't see any major impact because it's all based on domestic workforce. Is based on resources that the country has domestically. So that again would cushion the impact of outbreak on the national GDP. Mining, again, we could see some slowdown in the mining sector because there's some major mining companies which are run by foreign investors, and commodity prices would probably shrink because of slackening of global demand. But the major item is gold, and I think the gold prices have gone up. I don't know how would that compensate for probably other commodity prices being hit. And we are one of their largest markets for gold, so I think that's one thing where probably they would continue to depend upon India's huge appetite for gold. Probably that would help them to cushion the impact on the balance of payment situation. Coming to trade, probably as you all would be aware, we've been among their top two or three trading partners for the last 5-6 years. We still remain the largest market for Tanzanian exports. In terms of Tanzanian imports, I think it's between us and China. There's a difference of probably 5% here and there, depending upon which figures you are using. But in terms of total trade, I think both imports and exports, I think we continue to be their number one partner, and we take about 18% of Tanzanian global exports, and we I think meet about 14 to 15% of Tanzanian global imports. So that makes connection with India extremely important. for this country, not that much for us. Because when you have a trading partner who takes, 18% of your exports, so the health of that economy and in terms of their continuing appetite for the goods that they were, sending out remains very crucial for Tanzania's own balance of payment situation. Our exports to Tanzania, again, you would be aware, are pretty well diversified. The larger chunk being pharmaceuticals, petroleum products, machinery, equipment. And so I think when we look at opportunities, one would be, the supply chains. Because when as a trading partner, we are so important for them, it would be in the best interest of both countries that we are able to revive those supply chains. And in that context, the Indian uh, both exporters and importers who have had long-standing links with their Tanzanian partners would probably need to step up and reassure their partners here that they are in the game and that they would try to kind of re-establish those links at as fast as possible. And again, I know it's for individual businesses to see that in terms of payment mechanisms, what kind of new payment mechanisms could be worked out so that there's a obvious distress on both sides, but much more here with the Tanzanian business than with the Indian business. So that would be for long-standing partners to work out how they could help each other to ensure that those relationships are not lost. Because when there's a vacuum, there's always someone else who could step in. So I think that would be very important for our businessmen who've been dealing with this market to reassure their partners here that that we would work together to get back to some kind of normal, whether it's a new normal, to the extent possible and in the most expeditious manner. That's about the existing links. In terms of we all know that whatever has happened, it would lead to rearrangement of global supply chains. It would lead to rearrangement of those chains. So there again, using our traditional strength, using our traditional knowledge of this market, we really have to see that what new opportunities arise for us where we could step into to fill in the gaps. I think pharmaceuticals obviously has been a growing segment. I think last year we recorded an average growth of about 30%. And now Tanzania is the purchasing source for all the for the SADC countries. So that makes Tanzania a very important buyer for us. So I think our pharma companies you know, need to establish their links, strengthen their existing links, forge new links. And when we talk of disruption of supply chains, I think each country would now look at the possibility of how much they can produce on their own, how much they to manage their risks, that how much of things can be done in house. So I think some of our companies really need to look at setting up some kind of a manufacturing facility here. I know it can't happen overnight, but you could have a phased kind of engagement where phase one you could have maybe doing something as branding as a contract manufacturer. Phase two could be doing some kind of packaging of the final product here. Phase three could be transfer of technology and actually helping them with the selection of machinery and doing actual production here, both for pharmaceuticals and for APIs. That's one sector. Second, I think even before the the pandemic, there was a lot of stress here on emphasis here on value addition being done locally to natural resources. Over the last few years, we've seen that exports of unprocessed ores being made more difficult, duties being changed. So I think we really have to look at the possibility of coming here after the travel links are re-established and look for opportunities where we could do some kind of value addition here, where I'm not only talking of mineral resources but also of in the field of agriculture. Last 2, 3 years, we've seen we have an Indian investor from Maharashtra who's setting up a small sugar plant here. We also had some investors coming last year who were setting up a rice processing plant. There's someone who probably is setting up a sunflower oil mill. So these are the sectors, they're not very capital intensive, but these are the manufacturing things which depend entirely on local resources. So you're not dependent upon disruption in supply chains. I mean, it makes eminent sense to set up here because 58 to 60 million is a large market by itself by African standards, and the population growth rate in Tanzania is probably one of the highest in Africa. And then you have 5 or 6 landlocked neighbors. So there's a combined market which opens up when you set up something in Tanzania. I mean, there's a bit of information asymmetry. There's an information deficit, and the best way to overcome that is for people to come more often. Set up relationships and set up some kind of a presence, either by having a local partner or setting up someone of your own. And when I was talking of people setting up plants here, Hester Biosciences, I don't know whether how many of you are aware, they are setting up a fairly large plant here, and I was told it's their first overseas exposure. They have something in Nepal, but this is their first overseas thing, and they're very bullish about the potential for that project. As I said, it's not only Tanzania, but you cover other landlocked countries. And when you're setting up an EPZ in an EPZ area, you have the flexibility to, if you need to take it back to the domestic market, also using the local, if you get cost advantage in doing it here. So I think those are the kind of opportunities which our business people need to look at. And Tanzania, my personal assessment is not that I'm the High Commissioner. That's why I'm talking about it. My personal assessment is that as a country, it has just scratched at the surface as far as potential is concerned. I think you look at the resources, mineral, you look at the agriculture potential, you look at the size of the market as that, an expanding market with high population growth rate. You look at Dar es Salaam port serving another 5 or 6 landlocked neighbors. So I think that there's a lot, there's a lot happening in this country for any serious businessman to engage with this market on a long term basis. There are always challenges, in overseas markets, more so in Africa. But I think that's where we come in as your partners, as your friends, as your facilitators, so that we could together navigate the whatever challenges lie ahead. So we would expect more and more delegations to come after the flight connections are restored, and I do hope that it happens sooner than later. We're looking at, as I said, look at areas to begin with where you could do a bit of value addition locally: agriculture, food processing, pharmaceutical. If you could have a kind of phased process of you know kind of process which could end up with some manufacturing taking place here. And related to pharmaceuticals, you could also look at diagnostic centers, hospitals, medical appliances. Again, I think we've not been doing that well in those areas here. I mean, we do very well with formulations and generic products, but I think we have strengths in those areas which then, gel very well with our overall image, we were the most preferred destination for healthcare. We are also the most preferred destination for higher education. Now, with the disruptions coming in, I think again there would be a tendency in each country to look at how much of self-reliance they can obtain on their own. So there again, in the field of education, in the field of healthcare, based on our strengths, based on the very good image that we enjoy here, how much of it we can bring it here, in terms of hospitals, in terms of partnering with higher education institutes. And another thing I think which we've all learned from this pandemic is the role of technology. a lot of it now is going to be based on digital products and all that, the way we engage with each other. That's again one area where we could help this country, with advancements, with kind of, setting up, best practices using technology, using digital products. So that was another idea which I wanted to leave with you. Other areas I would probably, as I said, investments in sectors where we could do value addition, trade, you know, reworking arrangements with your existing partners, looking at new partners. I think another thing which we can do very well is, helping the small and medium sector with not only, with supply of machinery, but probably do it as a turnkey project. We've seen lots of cases where, people depended upon two or three suppliers, one set of machinery from one supplier in India, another set of machinery from another supplier, and then facing the challenge of integrating it. And even if one supplier lets you down or sends you something which doesn't work well, your entire project gets, suffocated. So that's one area we've got this complaint from many Tanzanian exporters that machinery suppliers, have either not sent the right kind of machinery or have failed to send their engineers to integrate it. Now these are not very, capital intensive things. They're all about maybe, something from $400,000 to $1 million. And I think if we could have some good people who could, do it as a turnkey project, I think they'll be very happy with someone does it as a turnkey, integrates everything, gets them the right kind of machinery, trains their people, and then, leaves a project, a functioning project, a well-functioning project. There could be lots of such projects which can be done in the small and medium sector. So again, I think, we people could come here, we could have, you know, meetings with the local entrepreneurs. There's a lot of interest in getting into new areas of enterprise. And last, I've not been here for long. I've been here for about 7, 8 months. We had about three or four delegations. I think each one went back with a good experience in terms of the number of people they could meet, in terms of the quality of interaction they had. So I think this market is full of opportunities. It's looking for right kind of people, and our political relationship, our traditional knowledge of each other, our acquaintance, and our knowledge of what's required in this country, and which comes from the fact that we had a very similar developmental experience. I think creates a good basis for us to step into new areas which would open up new supply chains, and I would say more opportunities for growth. As I said, we've been one of the major trading partners. I see no reason why we can't do better than that. So from my side, I can assure you all of all the support from our side. And I think given a kind of context, there are specific questions. I'm very happy to take that. So I'll just conclude the first phase with that. I hope it made sense. And if there's anyone who wants to ask specific questions, I mean, my colleagues are here, Mr. Chandramouli, who's our commercial representative, the Deputy High Commissioner, Mr. Gangar, who's our Second Secretary Commercial. So we're very happy to take individual questions or if you need any more information from us. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Excellency Mr. Kohli, for sharing the insight about the opportunities and the current situation in Tanzania. And as you very rightly mentioned, the sector-specific things, and also the digital and the technology part, which we really need to work upon. So as we will be in touch with your office and definitely plan some sector-specific B2B meetings in coming weeks, so that
That's right.
especially as the sectors you mentioned about pharma, agri, all these sectors we will definitely work upon and see our interest of the members, and we can connect with the locals with your guidance from your office, and we can have those B2B meetings.
And thank you. In fact, I wanted to add one more point. Talking of all the guidance, advices that you are giving to the government, I think that's another area where probably as a chamber, you could share something for the industry here. I think they're very happy to benefit from your experience. They're very happy to benefit from your learnings, and we'll be very happy to share your inputs with the local trade bodies. So if you could prepare a set of, kind of a set of advices, a set of actionable things for what Tanzania should do to, kind of get back onto its own growth trajectory. We'll be very happy to do that. I think sharing of learning and sharing of knowledge, before we actually get into, personal meetings and talk of actual trade and investment would be something which would be, very welcome here.
Sure, Excellency. As you very rightly pointed out, that we in this current scenario, we need to cooperate and collaborate amongst ourselves. Can you hear us, sir?
Yes, I can.
So I think what I was trying to mention is that this is the right time. We need to collaborate and cooperate with each other. So
I agree.
specifically, sir, we have a International Affairs Committee for Africa where we take care of the specific countries. So we will definitely come out with some paper and suggest whatever inputs we can give. We will pass on to you, and then accordingly we can take that further.
Thank you
And
so much.
in the, I would also like to add, sir, that we have Mr. Pradeep Bultani, who is our Vice President for the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also, sir, the Chairman for the International Affairs Committee of the total globe, which we take care from the Chamber. So
Yes,
now he has also joined. So I would like invite Mr. Bultani to share his views on this, sir.
yes, please.
Thank you, Naveen, and Your Excellency, Mr. Sanjeev Koliji. My apologies. There is something wrong with my internet connection. I could not log in earlier. So, Tanzania definitely is one of the most important countries. And we from India, when we are looking at, I think the time has come when we started focusing more on Africa rather
That's
than
right.
on Europe, and on America and even these so-called advanced countries. Because
Ji.
you see, I come from the pharma sector, the Ayush sector, and
Oh, you're
one
the right
finds that
person.
right, sir. So then one finds that the sort of conditions these Americans or Europeans try to impose on us, I mean, it's not worth it to invest there, because that dollar is the same whether it comes from Africa or it comes from America or Canada or Europe. And in our own company also, we are focusing a lot on Africa. My
Yes.
son looks after it. We've got our medicines registered as, our products registered as Ayurvedic medicines
Ji.
in Togo and Farkuno, Basia, whatever the name
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
Maybe around 6 African countries we've got our products registered. So one does feel that there is a tremendous scope for the Ayush sector, for the pharmaceuticals, as well as the Ayush sector in
Yes.
Africa.
No, we have got a very positive response here. We had taken up just before this pandemic, began. We had taken up matters related to cooperation in Ayush and in the in kind of sharing of knowledge, which could then go down to actual products. They had shown great interest. So I think that's one sector. You're very right, where we could have both G2G and B2B engagement.
Right, sir. And Your Excellency, in this, the Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, and the Honorable Minister, they have been really promoting this Ayush sector. And the Ministry of Ayush has taken out an advisory on a product known as Ayush Kada.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
So what they are doing is that in India, to a vast majority of the population, where they feel that possibly COVID-19 cases can come up, as a preventive or a prophylaxis, they are giving this Ayush Kada to them. So
yes.
that we have got that, and also there is this Ministry of Health and Family Welfare Committee known as HLL, Hindustan Latest Limited. That's a very big company of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare.
Yes.
They are also patching. See, why I was suggesting that was that if HLL could maybe write to you, and that could be shared with the government along with the advisory of the Ministry of Ayush, because it's a Government of India thing.
So we'll be happy to do that. This country itself is very strong on its own traditional medicine and herbal medicine. So I think
Yes,
when we talk to them about cooperation, I think we should also be open to looking at what their traditional knowledge is, and then to see how we could also benefit from some of their knowledge. It has to be a kind of a genuine partnership where you respect their traditional knowledge, their own set of products they have developed based on their traditional knowledge and their local herbs. So I think that's a good area for cooperation. Very good area for cooperation.
very right, Your Excellency. It has to be a both two-way affair. And Your Excellency, even in India, our Ministry of Agriculture is taking up the cultivation of medicinal plants in a very big way.
Ji,
We have the National Medicinal Plant Board, which is under the Ministry of Ayush, because
ji,
there is only one way to double the farmers' income in India, as has been targeted by the government, and that is to
yes,
shift these people, know, to let them move into medicinal plant cultivation, because in India there is tremendous demand for them. So maybe one could look at also growing something in some of our Indian medicinal plants cultivated in Africa,
yes,
and it would help their local farmers also get
yes.
back to us.
No, anything which relates to agriculture
Because
would be lapped
our
up in
idea
this
was
country.
that whatever Indian medicinal plants are, let them spread all over the world. Just like
Yes, I
ginseng
agree.
China is all over the world. We can
Yeah,
something like ashwagandha, which according to
yes,
us works better than that.
yeah.
Once we get entry into Tanzania, we can spread it all through Africa.
So we'll be very happy to support that.
Naveenji, you take over, because there is big disturbance in I cannot hear at times. Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Naveen,
sir.
you
Thank
can
you.
open
Thank you.
the floor for a
So
question
we'll
hour.
be in touch with you, and we will definitely like to take our relations between Tanzania and India
We'll be very happy.
very,
We'll
very
be very happy to support that.
His Excellency, I have two questions for you.
Yes, please.
Please take over.
So my first question is, what we have seen in the past pre-COVID, that Africa has had a tendency to lean towards Chinese investors overtly.
Ji, ji.
So Abhi, now with the COVID situation arising, how do you think the thing will emerge? Would that kind of a bias still remain, or it will lower down and there'll be a space for other people to come in?
I would say, these are all matters of perception. Yeah, I mean, I won't link it to pandemic. I think there are some Indian investors who've done extremely well. And probably if you look at them, the Chinese would say they have a bias towards Indian investors. I think it's all question of, how much you engage with this market, how much you are seen as contributing to this market. And, each market has its own dynamics. Each market has its own kind of, rules of engagement. So I think once you are, willing to commit yourself fully, I don't see, I mean, this is a debate which has been going on for many, many years, pro-China bias or whatever. I personally don't agree with that. I think we've got, excellent reputation here. There's a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of gratitude for us as a development partner. They are one of the largest beneficiaries of our ITech program in terms of scholarships. They are one of the largest beneficiaries of our lines of credit. And then, as I said, healthcare, education. I mean, these are things which touch at a people to people level. So I think it's a two-way thing. I mean, when you talk to these people, they would probably say that lots of Indian investors come, they promise a lot, and then you never hear back of that. You never hear from them again. And this is something which even Indian businesses who are successful here, they say that one reason they've been successful here is that they've really worked with the local people. So I think we should not let these perceptions of bias, dictate our thinking. I think when we plan to commit ourselves to a market, we should commit, full-heartedly. So, and I don't see any, either positive or negative discrimination which any Indian investor would face here. I mean, it would be
Sir,
all positives. I don't see any negative thing there.
well noted. So one more thing, sir. In your speech, India is very competent in skill education. So
Yes.
it seems that on the point of skill development, what could be
Yes,
the
please.
scope for skill development in a country like Tanzania?
I would tell you that, as I said, last 6, 7 months that I've been here, I've seen at least 2 delegations of Indian universities coming up here, and a lot of individual universities coming up here. As I said, India is a preferred destination of higher education, but people do realize that, your cooperation in the field of education has to go beyond mere recruitment of students. That becomes very one dimension kind of a thing. It's not sustainable. So the cooperation has to go beyond that. It has to go in terms of exchange of faculty, exchange of teaching material, helping local faculty to develop their capacities. Some people are also talking of, students from here going and doing 1 semester in India in a partner institution and then coming back. So these are, various possibilities one needs to look at. And I think once you develop that kind of partnership with local institutions, Africa in general and Tanzania in particular is a very youthful nation. And I pointed out to the very high population growth rate. So I think, development of skills, higher education, that thing is going to become more and more pronounced in the years ahead. So I think that's a good area to work with. We already have 2 or 3 medical colleges here which have been set up by Indian promoters. And again, as I said, you have to change to the, one problem which our people face is that you set up something 25, 30 years ago, and then things keep on changing. You people tend to keep on, basking in the reflected glory because, things change, rules of the game change, leaders change, people around you change. So you have to be very nimble-footed. You have to be very flexible. And I think once you are able to do that, I think that there's a good scope. Even now, I think there's a scope for a good medical college, a nursing college, an engineering college, something which can assure them of quality education which is world standard. And as I said, given the already good name we have, there's I think they would welcome genuine Indian investors coming with that kind of experience to help something set up here in skill development. And then you can take people there. We do that under the ITEC program. But I think now we're reaching a stage where we also need to be present here and be seen as, locally trying to help them develop skill sets. So if we are only talking of taking students away to India, either for higher education or skill development, I think that process is not sustainable for long. We should be able to come here, invest, and set up something here.
Got it.
But the
Well taken.
scope is immense. The scope is immense, given the kind of youthful nation this country is.
Thank you, Excellency. I would now like to invite Shri G.L. Agarwal ji, who is the co-chairman for the International Affairs Committee of PhD Chamber. Agarwal ji, if you can share your views.
Can you unmute me?
Yeah,
Hear
we
me?
can hear you, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, Excellency.
Good
Pradeep
afternoon to
ji,
you.
Vivek ji, everybody, good afternoon. My one question is there. Which sector is more affected in this COVID-19 in Tanzania?
As I said,
Tanzania
yeah.
is a peaceful, political and economically, as well as very rich in the natural resources. Previously, there was GDP 7%. What do you think about this 2021 GDP in Tanzania?
G. I think the first sector, as I said in my introductory remarks, where you could see a visible impact is the tourism and hospitality sector. I was looking at a report about there's a national park at Ngorongoro where they said only 3 tourists have come so far. And tourism was, as I said before, is one of the very large revenue stream. About $2.5 billion last year. So related to the tourism, you have the tour operators, you have hotels, you have cafes, you have restaurants, which have closed down. So that is, I think, one sector where you see immediate, impact, visible impact. So, and that's really going to be a sector which probably is, crying most for some kind of a, bailout package support from the government. And second, how much would be the growth hit I think that's very difficult to say because at this point of time, no one really knows how long this disruption is going to last. And also, the growth of the hit that this country's growth would take would also depend upon how soon their partner countries, major partner countries, are able to open up, are able to establish those links. As I said, we are a very, very important market for them. We take 18% of their exports, and we meet about 15% of their imports. So that's why, we become very important for them in terms of their own growth trajectory, and we become very important for them for their balance of payment situation. That's why my request was that, long-standing partners should talk to their partners here, assure them of, that, these links would be set up very soon. And, whatever new payment mechanism could be worked out, that's for individual businessmen. That kind of reassurance would go a long way. And in terms of projections, which are very early projections, and as I said, it should depend upon how wide and deep the effect of the disruption is. The scope is that probably the growth rate would go down from 7% to about 2%, and then rebound back to about 4.8 to 5% after a year. Those are the initial estimates.
Thank you, sir. I think we have
Thank
a
you.
question from Mr. Abhijit Bhattacharya. His Excellency, he wants to know that what is the scope of setting up a milk dairy processing plant and food processing plant in Tanzania, and also the wastewater treatment plant. So if
Right.
you can
I
throw some light.
I spoke of an Indian investor who's setting up a small, I mean, it's not very large, it's a modest sugar factory. There's another one who came here, met us in bought land to set up a rice processing plant. Then someone has been talking of a sunflower oil mill. So in the field of food processing, I mentioned also there's a huge appetite in this country for these kind of investments. The population is growing, and there's local resources available. You just have to come and do value addition. And in fact, the investor I mentioned about setting up a small sugar plant is then once that gets into it, his next plan is to set up a small dairy plant. So there's a huge scope for these things. It's kind of, as I said, coming up here, looking for things for yourself, and then commit yourself to this market. So I would say whatever sectors you have mentioned, there's a huge scope for that. We would be very happy, in fact, to link you with some of our own Indian community people who are into this business, because there's nothing like listening from the word of mouth of people who succeeded in these markets. And so we could also link you to some of the local people who would be interested in these kind of projects. Some of our, very successful Indian investors, Indian community businessmen, and no, I would, back you for all these projects that you have mentioned.
Sure, Excellency, we will definitely get in touch with your office and we can connect Mr. Bhattacharya with them on that part.
Yes, yes.
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Atul Anand, as we are talking about skill development and training. So Atul ji has a lot of experience on that. He is also one of our co-chairmen for the International Affairs Committee. Atul ji? Atul Anand ji, please. I think maybe his line is not there. So
I'll ask one question meanwhile. Can I ask one question meanwhile? There's someone from member of our chamber. Sir, Excellency, sir, one of our members, he has a specific problem. He has, worked for an Exim Bank funded project and supplied some services to the consignee, and his payments are up. Can the embassy in any way help him?
So this was an Exim Bank funded project in Tanzania. Was it through a line of credit?
Yes.
In any case, if this was the main contractor would have been an Indian company, if it's a line of credit project, please send us the details. And there have been some issues about some payments relating to VAT and other things. And, some of the contractors are waiting for some payments and, refund of import duties, etc. So those are problems which the main contractors are still trying to resolve. But having said that, once we have the details, we'll do everything possible to help.
Sure, sir. I'll ask him through the chamber to put up a paper
Ji,
to you.
please.
Sure, sir. So, Excellency, now I would like to invite Mr. Nasir Zaidi, who is also the chairman for International Affairs Committee for Gulf region and also is into tourism and aviation sector. So he has
Ji.
certain queries, so he would like to address. Mr. Nasir
Yes, please.
Zaidi, please.
Good evening, Your Excellency. Hello to all
Good
my.
evening.
Your Excellency, I second your thoughts on developing of education and now.
And there's some problem with the sound.
Nasirji, we
Am
can't hear you
now,
properly.
am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I definitely agree with the current situation with regards to tourism and hospitality and your views on education in Tanzania. Working in this field for quite some time, I would request to bring to your kind attention scoped
Okay.
development of youth and educational tourism between the two countries.
Yes.
Not to forget that we have a large Indian ethnic people there, and there's still a very strong travel and what we say a VFR potential between the two countries.
Ji.
And the same can be also be translated into youth and educational tourism. That's one, sir.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
in our interaction with the Tanzanian High Commissioner in New Delhi, I
Ji.
understood that there's a great need for setting up educational institutions in Tanzania in various fields. I mean, this is a very large thing that I'm talking about. It could be very specifics with regards to skill development or professional training or corporate
Yes.
tie-ups, very basic
Yes.
elementary. So
Yes.
that would be my focus area of focus too. Third would be that looking at the strategic location of Tanzania, where it is the route to so many other, at least three landlocked countries, there
Yes,
remains an
please.
immense potential for aviation for passenger and cargo as well, sir. So at the time, I mean, at this very moment, it may not be very appropriate to talk about tourism or education, looking at the distress we
Yes.
are already in. But there's
Yes.
definitely going to be advancement and requirement in the times to come. So I would request your kind attention on these points and would request your support, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think education I've already covered, and I myself mentioned that we should seriously think in terms of setting up institutions here. I also said that just focusing on recruiting students from here for admission into Indian universities, Indian institutions is not sustainable. I mean that would continue to happen. But I think we need to have a much broader sense of cooperation in the field of education. And one of the things I mentioned was that there is a need for quality institutions in the field of health education, technical education, skill development, and so we really welcome that kind of any serious Indian investor with the right kind of experience, right kind of credentials who wants to come here and set up those institutions. We would be happy to link them with the right kind of people. Tourism, as you also again said, I think it's something we could probably look after. Links are reestablished. But yes, there's always been this kind of a competition between the two ports, Dar es Salaam and Mombasa. And I think they're now undertaking the expansion of Dar es Salaam port. There's a plan to build up another port. In fact, something was offered by the Chinese, it fell through. So, cargo movement is again, as I said, as trade grows within Africa, we are also talking of, continental free trade area. And you're right, Tanzania serves, I think, at least 6 landlocked countries. So I think those are areas where, yes, people who who are, who have the knowledge, we'll be very happy to link them with the right kind of people. We've really not looked at in detail in those particular sectors. But from our knowledge of what's happening in this country, I think anything related to cargo movement, logistics, and has a great potential. I mean, it's not something which would happen overnight. But if someone is willing to take a 10-year long view, which any serious businessman should, I think that's a good area to work upon. And youth tourism and all that, I think the right way to start would be to have that as part of a broader cooperation in the area of education. Because I don't think at this point of time, there would be many people who could have that kind of disposable incomes to just kind of look at, just the tourism part of youth exchanges. But if we could link it to a bigger cause and, as something happening from cooperation between two institutions, I think that's something which could be kick-started.
Yes, sir. Your Excellency, if I may intervene, as of now, we already have some reputed reputed educational institution who are already looking for similar tie-ups in African countries. And when
Yes,
I
please.
say that promoting youth and educational travel, I would rather bring it as a subset of this cooperation as education, Aman.
I
It's
fully agree. I fully
Yes,
agree.
yes,
I
sir.
fully agree.
Yeah, yeah. And that's for now. If you want an assurance that we are already ready with some proposal with some good institutions, and they have their
Well,
very valid interest in Tanzania,
we
sir.
look forward to seeing you here. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you very much, sir. So now I would like to invite Mr. Surinder Kalra, who is our co-chair for the International Affairs Committee, to ask his question, please.
Good afternoon, His Excellency. I'll be
Good
very brief.
afternoon.
I'll be very brief. And
Ji.
we are basically a firm of chartered accountants with almost 40 years of experience. And we have been mainly giving consultancy on international trade and investment.
Ji.
Particularly, we have a lot of experience in the infrastructure sector also. We have tried to work on one of the projects in Tanzania, which was with ICT as a consultancy. It was similar to like we have Delhi and NCR region being made in Jerusalem. So for that, the
Yes, please.
consultancy was done. And most of the projects in the infrastructure sector are there funded by the African Development Bank, and we also empaneled with them. Now, second
Ji.
thing is, you said there are two ports coming up, and the logistic and the IT has got very good scope. We have got
Yes.
a lot of expertise, particularly in the IT, in the logistics and port, in the sense about blockchain technology, which is the latest thing which is coming up. So, is there any guidance? We need some guidance from your office. If you can enter into these areas, the logistics and the seaports, as far as uh, uh, the blockchain technology is concerned. And third,
Ji.
which need little guidance is that you said that India and China almost the trade is the same, rather the
Yes.
exports from India to Tanzania are more. With this COVID-19 coming in, there are certain disruptions in the supply chain. We have
Ji.
a legal vertical also which takes care of arbitration and mediation, and there
Ji.
could be a situation of force majeure coming into this. So we need certain guidance on that.
But thank you. I think all the areas that you are mentioning are, very specialized in their nature. And I think what I would request and what I would suggest is if you really send us a mail on, these individual areas of expertise with the kind of background on, how, you could help, those, the expertise that you have, how you could help these people. And I think once we have that kind of a background paper, we're very happy to then share it with the like-minded people here. And I'm sure there would be, there would be good receptivity to that.
Thank you. I'll send that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. So now I would like to invite our Secretary General, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal-ji, to sum up the session and also propose the vote of thanks. Mr. Sanyal, please.
Thank you, Naveen. Good afternoon, Excellency. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of PhD Chamber and on my own, I would like to thank Excellency Mr. Sanjeev Kohli, High
I
Commissioner of
cannot
India,
hear
Dar es Salaam.
anything.
Can you hear me now, sir? Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you in Dar es Salaam.
Right.
We can also hear you.
I would. I think I will once again start. Excellency, I wish to thank you with the core of our hearts. You've given an excellent insight into the business and trade opportunities in Tanzania and Dar es Salaam and all over the countryside. In fact, Tanzania has been one of the most beautiful countries alongside Kenya, which has been doing excellently in the African region, whether it was on the line of credit projects, whether it was in tourism, whether it was export and import with various countries on their individual line of projects, whether it was the water projects, water supply, whether it was hotels, and it has been the hub center of the tourism as far as the wildlife goes, with 38, more than 38% of in the conservation, with 17 national parks and 29 game reserves, 40 controlled conservation areas, the Gorongoro and etc. I have been to Tanzania a number of times. I have been while I was in the corporate as well as a tourist. I've been there, and it has been a beautiful country. Let me tell you, there are beautiful people. There are very, very good partners who can join in business. This is one of the countries which has been very safe all throughout the African continent, where in other parts there have been disturbances and there have been, a lot of, especially in the western region, there have been a lot of problems. So this is one country where the Indians have been very, very successful, and they have continued to do their businesses. Large number of EPC companies are already existing there. Large number of Indians are there, and they're doing very good business. The payment systems are very good. The Indian administration is very good, as also the Indian High Commission there, which is very forthright and goes all out to help the Indians who are set up there, who have set up their businesses. So I wish to thank you on that. Secondly, I also would like to reiterate that the PhD Chamber's aim is to foster international relations in the social, cultural, and economic fields, where the enterprises, government, and international organizations interact to promote and strengthen cooperation. And we will always continue to work towards stronger collaborations with countries of strategic importance. We have already held 2 to 3 exhibitions in Tanzania in the agriculture field earlier, with my colleague Mr. Naveen heading the team, along with Mr. Kamal and Mr. Rakesh Sagaria. Our 50 companies have gone there, and they have, they have established these stalls, and they have done good amount of business. So, with these words, and as there are so many positives in Africa. In fact, we had started a program called Africa Land of Opportunities since 2013. And in addition to whatever happens in the Africa Conclave with CII and with the India Africa Forum Summit, where we also participate as a chamber with all our members. In fact, Mr. Vivek Agarwala, the chairman, has been very, very proactive. We also took a delegation to Uganda and Rwanda with the Honorable Prime Minister, where a huge team had come there. Mr. Vivek Agarwala and another member of ours, Mr. Sushil Gupta, who's into the logistic business. They established very good linkages there, both backward and forward linkages, and they are already doing a lot of business there. In fact, Mr. Vivek Agarwal, our chairman of the Africa Committee, has been very, very proactive in all the states, all the countries of Africa. I would like to thank him from my core of heart again for supporting this webinar. And Excellency, just a point, we would like to interact with the African companies on our this platform during COVID-19 times, where it is very easy to establish connections with them. And we will be requesting you and your counterpart who can help us with some strong companies in various sectors. And my colleague Naveen will be setting up a B2B platform where in this time the planning of doing business is established between both the countries. And thereafter it can be taken forward when the travel permits are issued and the travel starts, international travel starts. So this is the right time for our companies to get together, the African counterparts and the Indian counterparts, and do their business talks over the Zoom and establish themselves and then take this story forward. So with these words, again, thank you. And I will request all present, all participants spared their valuable time to carry this vote of thanks with acclamation. And a special clapping for the Excellency who's given us this beautiful intervention. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to all of you for giving me this opportunity to connect with everyone. And as I said before, we are here to work with you and more closer than ever before. So, we'll be very happy to, do whatever you would like us to, help in again restoring the health of this very important relationship. And just keep us, just maintain regular contact. Send us the sectors you would like to establish contact over video conferencing and all that. And we'll be very happy to bring people together. We see incredible opportunities here, and I think we really need people with the right commitment and the right expertise to come and do business here. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we also like to
Thanks.
thank the team there in your office, Sir Excellency. They have been very supportive and cooperative. And we will definitely work closely with them to make a betterment of both the members here and there as well.
Thank you
Mr.
so
Kalra,
much.
you want to say something?
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Kalra.
One thing.
Thank you.
The one thing that I want to say is that His Excellency, you had said very good thing that with this COVID thing, there is a disruption in the supply chain, and there has been a vacuum created. One country businessman who fills up this vacuum sooner would get the opportunity. We would certainly appreciate, and we would work as a chamber, their office, to fill up this vacuum as early as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and please
Thank
stay
you.
safe, stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all for participating. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Where is sir? There you go left.
No, I'm here, sir.
No, Saurabh he left, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks and see you soon. Bye.
Bye, sir.